What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the FBA TV Live. We've got Ben, aka FBA Mentor, with us. How you doing, Ben?
Yes, hello. Nice to see you. Nice to finally meet you.
Mate, this is the first time we've ever spoken, apart from a few minutes ago. Yeah, I was telling a few people beforehand.
Yes. No, it's always really good to actually speak to other people who are in the Amazon FBA space, effectively kind of share experiences and just prove to people that, hey, this is not a scam. This is a real business that if taken seriously, can change your life, can change and improve and potentially, replace your 9 to 5. So, but I think when it comes to Amazon FBA, there are more than one ways to skin a cat. That sort of saying really applies. The way we do things is different. Some people will potentially even go to a different business model, not necessarily Amazon FBA private label, potentially wholesale, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, whatever. So it's always nice to actually speak to other people and kind of pick their brains as to exactly what they're doing, what's working for them, and then we can potentially apply to ourselves.
Absolutely. You do definitely learn something from everyone as well, don't you? I remember I was saying to you before the call, another reason I love doing these chats, because I just meet sellers that are, ahead of me or the same stage of me or all over. And then you always learn something, if everyone's doing something in a slightly different way,
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes you learn not what to do, but also what not to do, and from other people's mistakes as well, which really saves you a lot of time and potentially money as well. Kind of one of the reasons why we do the mentorships and the courses. So basically, people actually avoid the mistakes that we potentially experienced sellers make, so then they can save that money and therefore start off on the right foot, effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Right, I'll just say hello to a couple of people and then we get on, because Ben's very busy, as we all are. So I don't want to take too much of his time. Hey, Nat, and a few others here. That's this Facebook user on the old StreamYard. So I know that is. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. No worries at all. I think that was aimed at you, actually, Ben. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Actually.
Awesome. So, Ben, the first thing I want to sort of get into is diving straight into it. How did you get started? I mean, well, sort of what was you doing before Amazon, and then how did you end up getting started on Amazon?
Yeah. So I was, like a lot of people these days, are in a 9 to 5, and I think a lot of people that do start a side hustle or an Amazon FBA business or anything for themselves are those people that are not very comfortable where they are. And that's exactly what I was. I was working in recruitment in the city for about 7 years. And to be completely honest, in the very beginning, I thought, okay, well, I guess this is what I have to accept. This is what's my life going to be for the next 30 to 40 years. Wake up 6 o'clock, get to work 8 o'clock, leave 6, get home 7, 8 o'clock. And that was every single day pretty much. But then things changed when I actually bought my own flat after saving up for years. And, living from your parents and having bills of, 100, 200 pounds is very different to having bills all of a sudden of 1,000 pounds. And I realized that my income is not stretching as far as it once did. And therefore something has to change. Something has to be done about it. And this is where, I started looking at potentially other ways of making money, not necessarily setting up a business, but just anything else I can do, just so maybe on the weekends, maybe, like maybe a few market research groups or something like that, just so I can improve my income, because my job was only paying so much. And even though I asked for a salary raise, most people will relate. They will say, just no, that's it. Go away, whatever, leave us alone. And that's where kind of Amazon FBA came around. It actually came from I believe it was a YouTube ad I saw. And frankly, I didn't take any sort of interest in the very beginning, because I thought, oh, it's just another scam. But I'll have a look. After doing a little bit of research, you realize that, hey, it's not just can be like a little bit of money on the side, but can actually make quite a lot of money after learning a little bit more about the infrastructure, about Amazon FBA fulfillment, and so on and so forth. And that's how really things got started. But given the fact that I got burnt quite a few years ago with cryptocurrencies and a bunch of other things, I was taking like really baby steps, like really slow. I wanted to learn the whole process from start to finish without investing any money. Or like the very first product I bought literally from China was those charcoal toothpastes. I don't know if you remember. They were advertised by the team. Yeah. And all I wanted to do is just, okay, I buy it from China, I bring it all the way to the UK, and can I actually get them live for sale on Amazon and actually see if it works? And then when I realized, yes, this whole thing works, that's when I invested into my very first product. But for all of the people that are doing product research and thinking, oh, this is really long and stuff. Yeah, it is. Like in the very beginning, it is very, very long for everybody. But eventually things will start to pick up.
Awesome. So your first product, which was the charcoal, so that started selling? You imported that?
No, so basically that wasn't even a product that I was intending on selling. I just wanted, it was like a nice, cheap, light product that I could bring in from China very, very quickly, just to test that everything works, because I didn't want to spend thousands of pounds and then get products stuck somewhere because I didn't know the process. So I just wanted to learn the process. The very first product that I actually bought was a tanning mitt, effectively. So once I figured out how everything works, it was a tanning mitt that was kind of like a long tanning mitt, double-sided, that did relatively well, to be honest, over the next 18 months. But that's how it all started.
Wow. So I didn't start with anything like that private label. I started with online arbitrage because I thought it was a much less money, less, what I mean, less outgoing, less risk. It felt like looking back, do you wish you started with that, or are you glad that the route you did?
You know what? It's a really tough question to answer because I don't know what would have happened. But online arbitrage is very different to private label, in my opinion. You don't have to worry so much about advertising. You care about the listing. With private label, you have to create the listing. You have to think about the images. You have to think about what captures people's attention. You actually have to do a lot of product research and put a lot of money up front. I think hence why a lot of people that do retail and online arbitrage will actually think of moving to wholesale and private label, but it never goes the other way around. Nobody in private label all of a sudden goes, oh yeah, I'm going to do some online arbitrage on the side. So probably not. I'm actually quite happy that I went into the deep end effectively and figured it out. I think if I started with online arbitrage and started making, maybe £300-500 a month, because it's not really a scalable business in my personal opinion, I've probably been in a comfortable position and I would have been like, yeah, that's a great side hustle, and I probably would have just left it there. But because jumping in, I actually didn't even know about retail or online arbitrage until like months later, and I'm quite happy that it worked out that way, frankly.
Definitely, yeah. So the strategy that you do at the moment, so do you do like just straight private label? Have you got a brand, or
yeah, so I have right now one generic brand, basically. So this is where I always find it difficult to explain what I do to students, because private label effectively can be set in two different ways. You can either have one brand that covers pretty much any product you want to sell, and you use that brand as protection from Chinese hijackers and so on and so forth, which is what I do. I sell products in beauty, toys and games, and so on and so forth. And then people can also have private label for like an actual brand, where they have their own email. They sell in, let's say, for example, you're selling camping equipment. Well, then you're going to create a brand around camping equipment. You will have your own website, you will have your own emailing list, social media, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, that will then restrict you from the type of products that you can sell, because if you're selling camping equipment, you're not all of a sudden going to start selling baby stuff on the side in that same brand. So you have to, there are pros and cons to both. I personally went the route of, I don't care about social media, I don't care about the website, I just want to sell what sells, and I want to have some protection over it, and that's been working out pretty well so far.
Okay, awesome. So I mean, did you do courses and stuff to start with to get going on that? How did you learn? Because it's so complex, like I know it's so complex. I did the that Brock Johnson, I think it was the $1 course or whatever it was called. I did that, and that was just so complex. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, no, there are so many courses out there. And I think a lot of, I did do a course. Yes. The person that taught me that is no longer doing Amazon FBA. Now he's gone more into crypto and in the NFT space. I think on the course side of things, I think there is a place for them. I just think they have a very negative kind of connotation to it, because a lot of people do use them just to scam people out of money, and they pretty much give no feedback, no support, nothing. However, what people don't understand is that the stuff that you and I put on YouTube, we care about views. We care about people, as the audience to be as big as possible so they view our video. And the reality of the situation is, if you start putting information that is basic, for example, about barcodes, about creating an invoice, about hazmat reviews, things that are really important in Amazon, but nobody really knows about them, let alone is going to watch them, then it's not much point of putting that stuff on YouTube. So when you actually create a course, you can put out all of the information without caring about the views. And this is where you provide everything you know. Whereas with YouTube, you have to worry about the viewers, and therefore you have to speak about, the day in the life type of videos or product research, broad things that people would potentially be interested in. So courses do have a place. I just think you need to do a lot of research beforehand to make sure you pick the right one, and the one that will support you throughout the journey, that doesn't make it too complex effectively, that does break it down very, very simple steps and covers everything. Because when I have students coming on to my course, they're like, Jesus Christ, I did not know about that. And I didn't even know I did not know. Like, what the hell is declaration of conformity? What the hell is HAZMAT reviews? What the hell are these, all of these things, all of a sudden, the certificates of incorporation, all of these things that they never even heard of from YouTube that they needed, all of a sudden they realize, oh yeah, I need to do this. I need this, and I need to do this as well. So they do help out, and they did definitely help out me for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think some people think that I'm sort of against courses, because I say, openly, I don't sell them. I never will sell courses. But that's just because there's many reasons for that. But I think, look, if you can get the, if you got a fair price course, that's from someone that knows exactly what they're talking about. There's no like hard upsells to these vulnerable people. Look, I think, absolutely. I've spent a lot of money on them, and they've done me a lot of good. So, it's all down to who's selling it and how it's sold, really, isn't it? So you went straight into private label. You obviously had some relatively fast success by the sounds of it. But then again, I think I saw in one of your videos the other day, you said it. I think you're about 5-6 years in now, aren't you? I think it was quite slow to start with, wasn't it?
4.5, 5 years, yeah. So basically, because I started off relatively small budget, I think my budget was 1,200 in the very beginning. It was a game of reinvesting every bit of profit back into the business. I didn't invest anything else. I didn't have anything else to invest. So in the very beginning, it's very, very slow. It's very slow, but then after, eventually people will realize the beauty of compound interest effectively, and things start to pick up much, much quicker. But the first year, for most people who do Amazon FBA, if they're on a lower budget, don't expect life-changing results. It's just not going to happen. Physically not going to happen. But things will take time. Good, like all good things take time, and you will usually pick up later down the line. Definitely. So for me, for example, personally, the first 6 months, I sold £25,000 in sales, which doesn't, for some people it might sound impressive, but it's not really, given that the profit was about £7,000, £8,000 over a 6 month period. It's not life-changing figures. But in the next full year, we went up to £227,000 in sales, because we now had more products. We now had a full year. We knew what we were doing, most importantly. And it also is with the compound interest, it's not just from the money side of things, it's also from your knowledge. As you get more experience, you will tend to make less mistakes. You will find better products. So it's not just about money compounding, it's also about what you know and what you don't know as well. So you get much more experience in it as well, which helps along the way.
Yeah, definitely. I think some guy on TikTok the other day said, "Oh, I've got £5,000. What should I invest in?" And I said, "Actually, don't spend that much to start with, because you're going to probably lose it. It's the knowledge that you need,
100%. Yeah. Well, if I ever get those questions, I'm like, right, we're going to put 3,000 into the savings account, and we're going to try and figure out what to do with the other 2. Then once we have figured that out, we'll use the other 3 to restock and have a plan in place. Yeah,
definitely. So if you started again, what would you do differently? So obviously, as I just said, you had relative success pretty quick, fast on. But is there anything that sort of screams out to you right now that you think?
Just kind of avoid a few of the complicated products. So, for example, when you're starting off, a lot of people tend to go and do, I'm gonna reinvent the wheel. I'm gonna try a brand new product, or I'm gonna try and go for something really complicated and stuff. And then the situation is, the reality is that the more complicated you go, i.e., like, for example, you're going to sell a product in different variations or different sizes or shapes or whatever, the more complicated you go does not mean you're going to make more profit. It just means you're going to have a lot more headache, right? So in the very beginning, in my personal opinion, especially when you're starting out, if I was to start again, it's a bit different given I know what I know. But if I was to start again, having no knowledge whatsoever, just go for the small, light, cheap, simple products that on the face of it can't really go wrong. Okay. If you're going to start, like, for example, one of my products that I lost pretty much, I think it was £8,000 to £10,000 on, were these mini spy cameras. and they cost me about 18 pounds, and I was meant to sell them for about 40. But because they're electrical, because they're quite, you need to download an app and so on and so forth, there are many things that can go wrong along the way. And then needless to say, I've got a whole bunch of negative reviews, and I just had to sell a lot of the inventory on other marketplaces just to get my money back. But if I didn't go such a complex route, if I just chose simple products that can't really go wrong, I would have had a much easier journey. So keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Okay. It sounds, yeah, I've heard that story quite a few times from, private label sellers. There's like keeping it basic, because there's always a resale value of something that's simple as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? If it's like I don't know. Anyway, glasses, for example, you're not going to do glasses because it's breakable. If you've got glasses, there's always some sort of resale value. People always want glasses.
Yeah.
If it's
yeah.
I completely get that. I've got a lot of new sellers in here that have come from TikTok and YouTube and places like that. Have you got any main top tips for the new sellers?
My top tip is two tips. Number one is to take it seriously. This is not something, if you take it seriously, if you're going to do it, take it seriously. Don't think this is like an NFT project that will go away. They don't think this is going to be cryptocurrency like Luna, which is going to go down 99%. And don't think the whole business model is going to go away at all. It's here to stay. It's definitely here to stay for the foreseeable future, for sure, if they're not going to grow. So take it seriously to begin with. The second piece of advice is, I think most people will make the mistake, and most of the time when I have a student and his product is not selling, the very first thing I will look at is their images. And 90% of the time, there's something wrong with the images. Either I get the sense that a lot of new sellers will just have this "it will do" type of attitude. Oh, these images will do.
The process is so long, they just want to get
it. And it's no, it won't do. They need to be like, I always ask the students, okay, how is your product standing out from the rest of the competition? Because right now, from what I see, your images are blurry. They have spelling mistakes in them. The font is yellow on white. They think that I'm getting images from the Chinese supplier, and therefore that's going to be good enough and people will buy from me. And it's like, no, stupid, no, it won't. It won't be good enough. It needs to be as good as it can possibly be. If you need to pay a graphic designer, if you need to Photoshop them yourself to make them as good as possible, do so. Because otherwise you're literally wasting your time, and more importantly, you're wasting your money, because now you're sitting on inventory that you cannot sell and that you cannot be bothered to fix the images on. So you need to make sure that you are actually putting your best effort forward. And you need to be at a point where you are not selling, but at least you can say to yourself, there is nothing else I could have done better. The title is as good as it can possibly be, in my opinion. The images are as good as it can possibly be, in my opinion. But if the images all of a sudden you look over and they don't stand out, they're blurry, they have spelling mistakes, or they just don't sell the actual product, how are you going to make sales? Like, for example, a few of my new sellers right now, they get the images from the Chinese supplier, which I'm so against. And half of the very first image is of a brown box that the product comes in. And I'm asking them, like, number one, who do you think cares about the box that it comes in? People don't care. If we were selling in a retail shop, yes, the box matters, of course. How the product looks in the box matters. But here, the people only care what is on the screen. And what they want to see is the actual product that's on the screen, right? And whether the product actually works. So covering up half of the image in a brown box that has nothing on it is actually doing you more of a disservice than a benefit, effectively. So you really have to focus on the images a lot, because you may have a great product and the product may be amazing and maybe have the best price, but if the images suck, it's not going to sell. It's as simple as that. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. 100%. And having so I've created a fair few listings, and having been there myself, especially when I was starting out, I do know why people do it. And I think it's just it's a lack of like, oh, is this even going to work? So let's just cut a couple of corners. Like from my experience, that's what I think they're doing. But yeah, absolutely,
100%. I think for most people, the perception, the reality changes once it goes from a random guy on YouTube speaking to me about this shit to all of a sudden now I'm seeing money in my business bank account coming in. It's like, oh, I'm not trading time for money anymore. I'm actually selling these products. I've sold 3 overnight while I was sleeping. This does actually work. Okay, fine. Then will go ahead. And actually funny, when that happens, usually people that have £2,000 in budget that can't spend any more, all of a sudden find another £1,000 because they understand if they invest more, things will speed up a lot faster. So all of a sudden you realize, hey, like this works. Mom, can you borrow? You know, these things happen all the time. But I think just people need to believe in it, put their best effort forward, and they'll be amazed and very surprised at the results.
Yeah, amazing. Great tips. What's your plans for the future? Your growth plans. So you've got your brand at the moment. You're doing figures. Probably that's pretty big already. I mean, where else do you want to
go? To be completely honest, there's a few pathways to do it. So my personal growth is a little bit different to, I think, a lot of the new sellers out there. New sellers want to just bring out their products as much as possible, make as much money as possible. I'm now at a point where we're making roughly about £100,000 in sales each and every single month. We want to go up to about 200,000 to 300,000. And we're at a point now where in every single seller's journey, there is 3 steps, kind of, that I see. The 3 bottlenecks, the 3 problems that they will have. The very first one is lack of knowledge, right? Because you're getting into the Amazon FBA business, you've got no fucking idea what you're doing, what the hell's going to happen, you know, whether or not it's going to work, how does it work, and so on and so forth. Once you have figured that out and you see that it's actually making a little bit of money, the second problem is usually the lack of capital. Because Amazon takes anything between 2 to 4 working weeks to bring the money back that you've made, you're reinvesting the money back into the business, you're buying new products. Those products take a while from China to come in. You're literally waiting for more money to come in so you can reinvest back into the business. And then there's the third problem, and this is the problem that I am at now. And that is where you have the knowledge, you have the money, but you don't have the time. I can bring out products pretty much on a weekly basis now. I have the money to do so. I just don't have the necessary time to do the product research, speak to suppliers, and so on and so forth. So it's all about now growing the team effectively to help me out in terms of on that process. So if I do take a holiday, the business continues to grow. And that's what my future plan is, to basically start growing teams around Amazon, around social media as well, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so on and so forth. That's my future growth plans. And then hopefully in a few years' time, I can kind of merge Amazon FBA and merge the social media side of things, and potentially come up with a plan where I will set up, like, for example, a warehouse where people will send their products in, and then they can sell on pretty much all of the marketplaces all at once. So instead of selling on Amazon FBA, I can now fulfill products for you for Amazon FBA, for Shopify, for Wix, for WooCommerce, and all of the others out there. So basically having like your own little prep center, because I believe the more money comes out of retail and goes into online arbitrage, from retail into online and e-commerce, there will be a massive need for these warehouses, these prep centers and stuff, where stuff gets, organized and sent to the customer. This is why Amazon is so amazing, because nobody else can compete with them, because they don't have this fulfillment by Amazon type of network. Shopify doesn't have it. If they did, there would be a lot of sellers moving to Shopify. Google doesn't have it. Facebook doesn't have it. And I believe all of those marketplaces would benefit from it for sure. It would actually bring a lot of competition to Amazon. So I think by having like a warehouse that would provide that sort of facility would potentially be a good business idea to move into in a few years' time.
Yeah, fantastic. Just on that quickly, so you've not got any plans to do yourself on your own website? You're really, really happy with the Amazon?
I'm very happy with the Amazon. The thing is, I have experience of building your own brand, i.e. building FBA Mentor with TikTok, with YouTube and everything. And I have a very good understanding of how much hard work it requires to build a brand. I don't believe anybody can do it by themselves. You need support, you need help to do it effectively, to do it properly. And given that I know how much work it requires, I don't want to go there again. I want to do something different. I've built up my own brand effectively. It's taken 2 years and it's still very, very small effectively. We have a great community going on with, sellers on my Facebook group and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and so on and so forth. But these, like, if Amazon requires patience, building a brand requires a whole lot more patience for sure. Because these things don't take months, they take years. And to now start all of a sudden building a brand new brand is just like, can't be bothered with this.
No, it's interesting. I wanted to ask, because most people that's sort of they're like, oh, I'll have to have the website as well as the Amazon brand, but it's unnecessary, isn't it? It's great to have both, I suppose, but you don't need both. It depends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, I have quite a lot of friends that have, some of them have built successful brands and some of them have tried and failed. And I think a lot of people underestimate the sheer amount of work it requires to build a brand. Because the reality is we are so happy and we're so comfortable because Amazon have all the customers there. But when all of a sudden you create your own website and you realize, oh, so nobody knows about me. Oh, so I need to do Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram posts, Instagram reels, Instagram stories, TikToks, YouTube videos, just to get a few views on my website, let alone convert them to sales. Oh, all of a sudden these things settle in and it's just like, there's a lot of work here that I'm not sure I'm prepared to do. So
a lot of money. Yeah. When you put the expertise on Amazon, it's just a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Of course, 100%. And I think also with Amazon, we believe we know how to build a brand because, hey, we sold a few products on Amazon. Not necessarily, because we have skipped a few steps. We didn't accumulate those customers. Those customers were there and we picked them off effectively. But when it comes to building a brand, it's much, much harder. And there's a steep learning curve. I think the learning curve from online arbitrage, and you can relate to this, online arbitrage to private label is pretty much as steep as from private label to actually building your own brand outside of Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. It's mate, it's been good. I'm aware of your time, so
no worries.
Let's see if we've got any comments, any questions from anyone. No questions specifically. Let us know if you've got any, guys. But no, it's an interesting story. It's an interesting story because there's so many strategies you can do on Amazon, but a lot of the time, especially guys from the UK, I don't usually hear of doing private label in such a big way that you're doing. I don't,
Do you think it's a relatively small market in the UK? Like, for example, there's not that many Amazon FBA sellers on social media that are doing decent figures?
With private label, definitely not that I know of. Yeah. Mainly it's the online arbitrage people, like especially in my community and the people that I know, they're doing online arbitrage, doing wholesale, like bundles, that sort of stuff. There's no one that I know, that's doing, apart from you, that's doing private label in such a big way. So it's great to get you on to talk about that. Someone just said, does Ben have a link to his mentorship?
Yes.
Make use of that in afterwards.
FBAmentor.co.uk.
Okay.
FBAmentor.co.uk. But for those of you who are interested, and you should be doing this as well. I don't know if you do, but you should.
Cool.
For anyone who's interested in learning more about private label, want to speak to me and ask as many questions as you want, I always do a TikTok live Monday at 8 o'clock. This is where I think it's really, really important in order to build a community, is to actually interact with people all the time. And every single Monday, 8 o'clock, people can come in and ask as many questions as they want for an hour about anything that is relating to Amazon, but not just Amazon, but also personal finance, economics right now with what's going on in the UK and so on. Because I'll be honest, I've not just been searching and figuring out Amazon, I've also been looking into different types of business models out there and effectively what to do in certain different macro environments. Like right now, for example, I think a lot of people need to, if you're serious about making money, if you're serious about creating a side hustle, I think you need to, first of all, build a better understanding of how the economy will impact you and your business, and kind of see what to do, what not to do. So for example, with, when you see interest rates are going to go up, you need to think, okay, how is that going to affect me? How can I make money from this? There's various support grants coming along. Okay, can I have some of that money, and so on and so forth. I think a lot of people think, okay, if I'm going to go into a side hustle, all I need to learn pretty much is Amazon FBA, and that's pretty much it. But the reality is, like, for example, I'll give a perfect example here. Given the fact that increase in interest rates, okay, most people who are on car finance, mortgages and everything, going to see their increase in their payments and so forth. Therefore, their disposable income is going to go down. Naturally, they will have to pay for gas bills, electricity, mortgage, car finance, everything before they buy anything on Amazon. Okay. And the reality is that majority of the products that we sell on Amazon are not really essentials. I mean, not many of us will be selling food, or not many of us will be selling various shelters or anything like that, right? So you need to start thinking about, okay, how does the macro environment actually affect my product research? And all of a sudden, for me personally, I'm now starting to look more into niches that people will buy in regardless of their income. I'll give you an example. Baby niches. If you're having a child, that child will need toys and various other things, regardless of how much money you're making, because that is your child effectively, right? And you need to have that thought process in the back of your mind. Whereas, for example, travel or beauty may see a much more of a decline because those are considered luxury items and therefore the first ones to go when economy goes down, right? So I think understanding what's happening in the world and the UK is really important for any business as well as Amazon.
Mate, that's really, really great tips there. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you definitely know your stuff.
Yes.
Just one question. Have you got time? Just one more question, Ben?
Sure.
Are you sure? Does Ben think there is more revenue and demand for products below £18 selling price than the higher value products in the UK?
Yeah, so that actually really links what I just said earlier. So effectively, think about it. How many of us really care for the products that we buy that are, let's say, £8, £9, £10? Not really. It's like it's a Netflix subscription, it's a Shopify subscription, right? So therefore, the demand for those products, in my personal opinion, is going to go down less than the demand for products that are in the 30, 40, 50 quid range. Because all of a sudden now, that is a decent chunk out of your disposable income each and every single month. And most people will start thinking, do I really need that? I don't know, cooker or something like that that's for 40, 50 pounds. That's why I used to move into more expensive items because they provided a much better return over time. But now I'm going more into cheaper items again, because I'm figuring out, okay, if the interest rates are going to continue rising, if people can't even afford to pay their gas prices, I need to really go and focus on the essentials, and the essentials that are cheap that people just can't do without. So therefore I think, especially if you're just starting out, go the cheaper route. Start slower, start smaller. And also the cheaper items, if you buy something for, let's say you buy 500 units of something that costs £10 on Amazon, you will be paying a lot less money up front than if something was £40 on Amazon. Chances are if it's expensive on Amazon, it's going to be expensive on Alibaba. So by going the cheaper route, you're playing it safe in this economic environment, and you're spending less money in the very beginning. These things really, really do matter, that a lot of people are just like, I'm just going to buy whatever my mom has advised and we'll go from there, really. And it's not how it works. It's not how it works, really. You need to do a lot of research in Amazon, but also what's happening right now. I'll give you another example. Out of COVID, for example, once we saw people starting to come out of COVID, having been locked down for so long, I straight away jumped into travel items. And the reason why, because I thought, well, everybody, first of all, had been saving up money. Clubs were closed, shops were closed. They couldn't buy anything pretty much. So therefore, what are they going to be desperate to do? Travel, leave the country, leave the terrible weather, right? Next thing you know, everything in the luggage, everything in the travel department just got snapped up like this. And you need to have a think, okay, what are people going to be interested in a few years' time, in a few months' time, with what's happening right now? The helium-10 or Jungle Scout statistics may not tell you that, but common sense will.
Definitely. And definitely. And time in the game helps, doesn't it? After a while. But without that, definitely just predicting it. I mean, we're planning, Q1 right now. Obviously, most people are planning, Q4. Obviously, I'm planning Q1 because obviously that's what.
If you're thinking about Q4 right now, you're too late. I'm sorry, but you're late to the game. Start thinking about Q1. Q1, and think about it. What sells in Q1? Here's a good example. Everybody's going to do their New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions of losing that weight, getting in shape, look into fitness items. Common sense.
Yeah, it definitely is. Ben, I don't want to take any more of your time because I only said it'd be 20 to 30 minutes. We're already 34. So thanks so much for coming on, Ben. It's been really, really insightful. I think it's helped a lot of people for sure. And it will be sitting on YouTube for people to watch on the repeat. So Ben, thanks for coming on. Hopefully I'll get you on in the future when you've made some even more progress as well.
Fingers crossed. Thank you very, very much for having me, Hayden. Honestly, really appreciate it. And it was a lovely chat, honestly.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy. Right, I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.